Hello students, welcome to examination preparatory class. We are dealing with the subject risk management insurance and we will understand the unit 3 of risk management and insurance. The subject code of risk management insurance is 18 MBFM 402. In this unit, that is introduction to insurance risk, we will understand the following below mentioned items: the definition of insurance, risk and insurance, basic characteristics of insurance, requirements of an insurable risk, adverse selection and insurance, insurance versus gambling. So we'll understand the difference between insurance versus hedging. Then we will even try to understand the various types of insurance, then essentials of insurance contract. Then finally, we will understand the regulatory body of our Indian insurance sector, that is Insurance Regulatory Development Authorities, the duties, power and the role of IRDA. Before that, we will even study the historical framework of insurance sector. Well, first we will understand the meaning of insurance. Insurance is a means of protection from financial loss or non-financial loss. So broadly, when we speak about insurance, it is majorly, it's like a protection. It's like a protection what we will be taking against the future losses. It is a form of risk management primarily used to hedge against the risk of uncertain loss. Here we need to understand the meaning of hedge. Hedge is a financial position what we will be taking which majorly reduces the loss. So in this particular situation, so there will be no profit, no loss. So that is called as hedging. The amount of money charged by the insurer to the policy holder for the coverage set forth in the insurance policy, we will call it as premium. Please understand that the word is called as premium. The amount of money charged by the insurer to the policy holder for the coverage set forth in the insurance policy is called the premium. The insurance has the following characteristics which we will be discussing in the next particular slide. We will understand some of the very important characteristics of insurance. The first important thing is sharing of risk. We also call it as risk sharing. Now, what is this risk sharing? The main purpose of the insurance is to share the financial loss happen to a person. Such loss is caused by an unforeseen event and it may involve the destruction of property or even sometimes loss of an individual life. We call it as death. Different types of insurance deal with different subject matters. For that sake, an example is like marine insurance deals with the losses caused by the sea or in the connection to sea. The second characteristic is cooperative device. The process of insurance requires cooperation from large number of people who agree to share the risk probability. Such act should be voluntary and may not be forced upon them. Then we will go to value of risk. Payment at contingency, the fourth characteristics. Then amount of payment, large number of insured persons. Now why? Because the number of insured persons shall be large enough to spread the loss immediately, smoothly and economically. When the number of insured is smaller, it will translate into a higher premium and hence it becomes unaffordable and unpopular. Hence, it is imperative to enroll large number of persons to make the premium not only cheaper but also affordable and marketable. So that is one of the very important characteristics, that is large number of insured person. Then we will be studying in detail, insurance is not gambling. Students, please understand, insurance is not gambling. Insurance is not charity. It's a personal contract. And finally, it assures the compensation. Elements of insurable risk. The loss must be definite and measurable. The loss must be predictable, meaning it must be of such a nature that its frequency and average severity can be readily determined to establish the required premium. The loss exposure must be large. A contract, basically we have 6 important elements so that it will be a valid. Now we try to understand the requirements of an insurance risk. Large number of homogeneous exposure units. Now what do you understand by this homogeneous exposure units? There must be a sufficiently large number of homogeneous exposure units to make the losses reasonably predictable. Insurance is based on the operation of the law of large numbers. A large number of exposure units enhance the operation of an insurance plan by making estimates of future losses more accurate. Then the second point, loss must be definite and measurable. So what we are studying here, requirements of an insurance risk. Then calculable loss. The volume of losses could be estimated. There are 2 elements which could be estimated, if not formally calculated. These are the probability of loss and the attendant cost. Then the premium should be affordable. The premium payable should be affordable to be insured if the cost of protection is higher than the cost of losses. No one will avail your service. Then loss must be fortuitous or accidental. Then loss must not be catastrophic. This is very important, students. The loss must not be catastrophic. It must be unlikely to produce loss to a very large percentage of the exposure units at the same time. Please understand, the insurance principle is based on a notion of sharing the losses, and inherent in this idea is the assumption that only a small percentage of the group will suffer loss at any one time. The principle of randomness in selection is closely related to the requirement that the loss must not be catastrophic. So these are the requirements of an insurance risk. Now what is this insurance contract or contract? A contract, very important, it consists of 6 important elements so that it will be valid, which is offer, acceptance, consideration, intention to create legal relation, certainty and capacity. If the main elements are not in the contract, students, please understand, it would not be a valid contract, or we call it as an invalid contract. Adverse selection and insurance. It is a phenomenon wherein the insurer is confronted with the probability of loss due to risk not factored in at the time of sale. Now, for example, if a bank set one price for all of its checking account customers, it runs the risk of being adversely affected by its low balance and high activity customers. The individual price would generate a low profit for the bank. Applicants successfully foil a company's evaluation system in order to obtain higher coverage at lower premiums. For example, if an applicant in an attempt to pay a lower premium manages to report that he works in one-story office when in truth he is large-scale construction worker, the insurance company would be making an adverse selection by approving his application. Students, this is very important. We have to understand the difference between insurance versus gambling and insurance versus hedging. Now, when we speak about investment, or insurance is concerned, the investors or the insurance person deal in the already existing risk in the investment. Whereas the gambler in gambling creates the risk. So he doesn't know exactly the probability in case of gambling. The risk and uncertainty can be measured in terms of insurance. But here, the risk and uncertainty cannot be measured because of the high degree of uncertainty. Uncertainty is high in case of gambling. But if something happens to you in the future, for that you are taking insurance. Okay? So insurance versus gambling, I think you people have understood. Now we will study insurance versus hedging. Now insurance is a risk management strategy one can use to cover the risk of loss from theft, fire, car accident, sickness, injury, flood, weather, and many other factors, in some cases including market movement, especially for farmers. Whereas hedging is an investment strategy one can use to protect from losses and increase the potential gains in the market. Insurance transactions reduce the risk. Very important, students, please understand, why do one take insurance? Majorly to reduce the risk, to avoid the potential losses which will be incurring in the future. Right? Whereas hedging typically involves only risk transfer, not risk reduction. So hedging is a financial strategy. We will be using that in order to minimize the loss. So wherein you cannot even get the profit there. So it is something like no profit, no loss situation. An insurance transaction involves the transfer of insurable risk, whereas hedging is a technique for handling risk that are typically uninsurable. So these are some of the basic differences between insurance versus gambling as well as insurance versus hedging. Now, after understanding insurance, contract, premium, elements of insurable risk and some of the concepts like this, now we'll understand the different types of insurance. Well, broadly we can classify types of insurance into two, that is life insurance and non-life or general insurance. Well, as the name suggests, life insurance, it majorly deals with the life of an individual. An individual will be covering for this particular insurance will be taken by an individual. So under this type of contract, when we speak about life insurance, the insured person pays a specific amount of money as premium payment. In return, they receive a sum of money either at the time of death of the person whose life is assured or at the end of the term of life insurance, whenever or whichever is earlier. So we have term policy, whole life policy, endowment policy, money back policy, annuity and ULIP. Now what we will understand each type of policy or insurance under life insurance. Now what is this term policy? Term insurance is defined as a policy. In life insurance may be defined as a contract that furnishes life insurance protection for a limited number of years. The face value of the policy being payable only if death occurs during the stipulated term and nothing being paid in case of survival. So whole life policy, under this type of policy, the insurance amount is only in the event of death of the insured or assured. The premium is required to be paid throughout the life tenure of the policy. Please understand each type of policy here, you will be confused. So my request to all of you is, study once thoroughly or understand the policy. Please understand the policy, each policy, what will be its major, or when you have to take this particular policy. Endowment policy. This type of policy provides for the payment of the sum assured in the event of the death of the insured person or at the expiry of the term of insurance, whichever is earlier. The premium is only required to be paid for the fixed time period mentioned in the policy. Then we have money back policy. This type of policy offer periodical payments during the term of the insurance policy. However, this is done only if the insured person is still alive. In the case of insured person death, the claim money becomes payable. Then annuity, as the name only suggests, this policy involves the payment of periodic money in lieu of the purchase price of the policy for a specified period of time. Then ULIP, very popular, one of the most popular product in life insurance, called as ULIP, that is unit linked insurance policy. is a type of life insurance policy which provides both protection and investment opportunity. Like if you want your capital to appreciate, you can go for ULIP because it covers both. It's an investment opportunity as well as it's like a protection for you. The protection is offered by the insurance cover, while saving is done through the investment of premium money by the insurance company on behalf of the insured. The former is called death benefit, while the latter is termed as maturity benefit. Now we'll understand non-life or general insurance. So this is a type of contract of indemnity. Under this contract, the insurer promises to pay a certain sum of money to the insured for the actual amount of loss sustained by them. However, no payment is required to be made if there is no loss occurred to the insured. Following are some of the main types of general insurance what we'll be studying now, that is fire insurance, marine insurance, motor insurance, accident insurance, credit insurance, and there are many types of other insurance also. So we will be studying in detail about each type of insurance in Unit 5. But we'll understand the meaning of this fire insurance. This type of contract allows for the compensation for loss occurred only due to fire. Then we have marine insurance. So when we speak about marine insurance, this insurance seeks to provide compensation for the losses sustained due to marine transport. Then we have motor insurance, the losses incurred due to theft of the automobile or any accident or damage. Accident insurance, this type of contract seeks to compensate for any loss incurred due to physical injury or property damage caused due to accident. Then credit insurance is designed to repay a loan either completely or partly upon the occurrence of certain contingencies such as the borrower's death, layoff. Then we have like other types of general insurance also, like public liability insurance, fidelity insurance, burglary insurance, unemployment insurance, national health insurance, cash transit insurance, and employment liability insurance, which we'll be studying in detail about the Unit 5. But my request to all the students is, please understand each insures the insurance broadly into life and non-life, that is general insurance. But in life insurance, you have to in detail study about the various types of life insurance, and in detail you have to study about the various types of general insurance. Okay, now we'll understand the essentials of insurance contract. The first is offers and acceptance, free consent, competent to make contract, lawful object, legal consideration, legal relationship agreement, legal formalities. Now we'll try to understand one after other, offer and acceptance. There exists agreement between the two parties in insurance contract. This agreement comes into force when one party proposes and the other party accepts the proposal. In insurance contract, the offer for entering into contract generally comes from the insured and the insurance company gives the acceptance. Free consent. When there is no any free consent except fraud, the consent becomes avoidable at the option of the party whose consent was so caused. The parties to the contract must be of the same mind and there must be a free consent. Then we will study competent to make a contract. Both proposer and acceptor should be competent to contract. Normally a minor, a person of unsound mind and an enemy or undischarged, insolvent and criminal cannot enter into a contract. Contract made by incompetent party or parties will be void. Very important, students. Then we will study lawful object. In order to make a contract valid, the object of the agreement should be lawful. For example, an insurance contract related with the risk of smugglings will not be valid because objective of smuggling is not lawful. It should come within our legal boundary, legal consideration. The agreement is not enforceable only when the contract is supported by consideration. Premium being the valuable consideration must be given for starting the insurance contract. The amount of premium is not important to begin the contract. The fact is that without payment of premium, the insurance contract cannot start at all. Then legal relationship. When two parties enter into an agreement, their intention must be to create legal relationship between them. Then agreement not declared void. The agreement must not have been expressly declared void by any law in force in the country. Certainty and possibility of performance. An agreement do not do an act is impossible if itself cannot be enforced. Then finally, legal formalities. It must comply with the necessary legal formalities such as stamps, registration, etc. So what we studied, students, the essentials of insurance contract. So please try to remember the headings here. Then if you understand these headings, you can elaborate on the same. Offers and acceptance, free consent, competent to make contact, lawful object, legal consideration, legal relationship, agreement and legal formalities. In this slide, we'll understand the historical framework of insurance. Insurance came into being as a result of revolt by traveling salesmen 5,000 years ago in the Euphrates Valley. You can just imagine how old the concept of insurance is. From such a modest beginning, insurance has now become an important factor of production and has assumed the status of one of the world's leading industries. We even say that insurance is as old as the civilization. It was present in the form of a mutual help. Origin of insurance is lost in antiquity. The writing stock in terms of pooling of resources that could be redisturbed in times of calamities such as fire, floods, epidemics and famine. This was probably a precursor to modern day insurance. Ancient Indian history has preserved the earliest traces of insurance in the form of marine trade loans and carriers contract. Now this marine insurance is the oldest known type of insurance and one of the earliest records of a marine policy related to that Mediterranean voyage in 1347. You can just imagine how the concept of insurance is very, very old. Marine insurance in India, there is evidence that marine insurance was practiced in India some 3,000 years ago. It was the British insurers who introduced general insurance in India. The first company known as the Sun Insurance Office Limited was set up in Calcutta in the year 1710. Then the origin of life insurance, the actual origin of life insurance is hidden in the mists of antiquity. The early development of life insurance was closely linked with that of marine insurance. We'll understand the insurance sector reforms in India, which is one of the most potential sector in today's market and is expected to grow very potentially in the next decade. So probably by 2025, 2030, already many players are there in the market, but still new entrants are entering into the insurance sector. But we will now understand the insurance sector reforms in India. So in 1993, the committee under the chairmanship of R.N. Malhotra set up to evaluate the Indian insurance industry and recommend its future direction, submitted its report in the year 1994, and its major recommendations revolved around the structure and regulation of insurance industry. The committee has identified a number of problems in the insurance sector and placed various recommendations in its report for changes in its structure, functioning and the general policy framework, keeping in mind the reforms underway in other parts of the financial sector and the economy. The committee submitted its report on 1st April 1994, but IRDA bill was accepted in October 1999 by the cabinet with the foreign direct investment limited to 26%. Therefore, since October 2000, private insurance companies are returning into the insurance sector. Now, some of the recommendations, the main recommendations were like the government should bring down its stake in the insurance companies to 50%. Private companies with a minimum paid-up capital of 100 crores should be allowed into the insurance industry. No single company should be allowed to transact business in both the life and general insurance business. The number of entrants should be controlled. The mandatory investment of LIC life fund in government securities need to be reduced from 15% to 50%. And then though nationalized insurance companies are in the position to face competition, it is essentially that they quickly upgrade the technology, reorganize themselves on more efficient lines, and are unable to operate as a board-run enterprise. So after the release of the Malhotra Committee report in 1994, changes in the insurance industry appeared imminent. Unfortunately, changes in the central government slowed down the process at that time. The dramatic climax came on 7 December 1999 when the government finally passed the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. That is very important, students. We call it as IRDA Act. This act repealed the monopoly conferred to the Life Insurance Corporation in 1956 and to GIC, that is General Insurance Corporation, in 1972. The authority created by the Act is called the IRDA, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. The IRDA constituted in April 2000 under the IRDA Act in 1999 is vested with the power to regulate and develop the insurance and reinsurance business in India. So today, the regulatory body for the Indian insurance industry is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, that is called as IRDA. So as we discussed in 1994, the committee submitted the report and some of the key recommendations included the structure, the competition, a regulatory body and investments, and very important is the customer service involved. Now, liberalization of insurance market. Liberalizing India's insurance. The new economic policies NEP were announced in 1991 by the Government of India with the focus on liberalization, privatization and globalization. We call it as LPG. Under the new policy, a new economic and financial reforms were initiated. Then in December 2011, the IRDA issued the IRDA regulations, which permit certain life insurance companies in India to go public, subject to regulation by both IRDA and the Securities and Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI, which is the regulatory body of Indian equity market. The regulations only allow life insurance that have completed 10 years of operations in India to go public. These regulations were seen as a significant step forward in India's nascent private life insurance sector, which had up until that point seen little growth. Recently, the IRDA announced that it will soon be issuing the final IPO guidelines at that time. So in this particular slide, we will be studying regulation of insurance. With the passing of IRDA Act in 1999, reforms in insurance sector were initiated in India. IRDA incorporated as a statutory body in April 2000 and brought about several crucial policy changes. The goals of IRDA are to safeguard the interest of insurance policyholders. That is very, very important. Safeguard the interest of insurance policyholders as well as to initiate different policy measures to help sustain growth in the industry. IRDA opened up the market in August 2000 with the invitation for application registration. Foreign companies were allowed ownership up to 26%. So the regulation of insurance majorly it covers Insurance Act 1938, then eligibility registration, capital requirement, investment of assets, that is approved investments, then licensing of insurance agents, then IRDA, that is duties and powers. Now what is this Insurance Act 1938? The Insurance Act of 1938 was the first legislation governing all forms of insurance to provide strict state control over insurance business. Now eligibility registration. No person shall after the commencement of this act begin to carry on any class of insurance business in India, and no insurer carrying on any class of insurance business in India shall after the expiry of 3 months from the commencement of this act continue of any or carry on any such business unless person has obtained from the controller a certificate of registration for the particular claim of insurance business. Now every application for registration shall be accompanied by students. There will be very, very stringent scrutiny policy which will be followed by the regulatory body. A certified copy of the memorandum and article of association, name, address and occupation of directors, a statement of the class or classes of insurance business done or to be done, principal place of business or domicile outside India, a certified copy of the published prospectus, the receipt showing payment in the prescribed manner of the prescribed fee, which shall not be more than 500 rupees. Then coming to the capital requirement, section 6, what we call no insurer carrying on the business of life insurance, general insurance or reinsurance in India on or after the commencement of the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority Act shall be registered unless he has a paid up equity capital of rupees 100 crore in case of a person carrying on the business of life insurance or general insurance, or the second point, a paid up equity capital of rupees 200 crore in case of a person carrying on exclusively the business as a reinsurer. Then, investment of assets. It was laid down that 55% of net life liabilities on an Indian or a British insurer should be invested in Indian government and approved securities with at least 25% in Indian government rupee securities. And approved investments like approved securities, securities of guaranteed as to principal and interest by the government of the government, debentures or other securities for money issued with the permission of the state government, preference shares of any company which has paid dividends, preference shares of any company on which dividends have been paid for the last 5 years immediately, shares of any company which have been guaranteed by other company, shares of any company on which dividends of not less than 4% including bonus have been paid for the last 7 years, then fixed deposit with banks included for the time being in the second schedule to the Reserve Bank of India Act. Such other investments as the maybe a notification in the official gazette declared to be approved investments for the purpose of this particular section. Then licensing of insurance agents. The authority or an officer authorized by him in this behalf shall, in the manner determined by the regulations made by it and on payment of the fee, which shall not be determined by the regulations issued to any person making an application in the manner determined by the regulations, a license to act as an insurance agent for the purpose of soliciting or procuring insurance business. In the case of an individual does not suffer from any of the disqualification. The person is a minor. The individual is found to be unsound mind by a court. Individual has been found guilty. In the case of a company, any of its directors or person does not suffer from any of the said disqualification, and the company or firm was immediately before the first day of August 1957. Now we'll understand the responsibility, duties and powers of Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. Now, as I earlier mentioned, that to all the insurance companies in India or this insurance sector is concerned, the regulatory body is called IRDA. Now, what is the IRDA? Has the responsibility of protecting the interest of insurance policy holders. The government of India decided to open up the insurance sector to provide better coverage to all the citizens of its country. So what could be the role of IRDA? To safeguard, the primary role of IRDA students, to safeguard the interest of the policy holders and to provide them fair treatment. There should not be any bias, to ensure speedy and proper growth of the insurance industry in order to benefit regular public and the economy, and to set the benchmarks for the performance of the insurance industry, for promoting fair practices, transparency and proper conduct in the industry, to take adequate actions to ensure that the standards are properly applied, to evaluate proper amount of self-regulation in the industry. Then what are the duties and powers of IRDA? IRDA Act provides the following powers to the authority under its subsection: the registration, protection, qualification, code of conduct, efficiency, professionalism, fees, then information, terms of business, books of accounts. Now when I say books of account, it specifies the form in which books of accounts need to be maintained by the insurance companies and insurance intermediaries, so that there is a fair understanding between the regulatory body and the companies which are operating in the insurance sector as well as the policy holder. Funds investment, margin of solvency, supervising, premium income, rural and social insurance, and there are others, like it needs to exercise other powers which may be assigned from time to time. Student, thank you so much for listening to this, listening and watching this particular video. But my request to all of you is please understand the concepts, basic concepts of insurance, and please try to understand the framework of Indian insurance. So thank you one and all for your patience listening and watching this particular video. All the very best, students.